Hello, if you follow my reviews for some time then you probably know that, and if you don't, I can say that I'm a pretty big fan of in-ear monitors made by company BQEYZ or BQEYZ, or I don't know how to pronounce them correctly, but I'm a fan of their model named Spring 1. I reviewed these three-way hybrid in-ear monitors with 3 different drivers. I reviewed them about a year ago, and I even said in my 2019 recap video that it's one of my most favorite models that I subjectively like. So you can probably imagine how thrilled and intrigued I was when they announced Spring 2, a bit updated and upgraded version of Spring 1. It's still 3-way hybrid in-ear monitors using 13mm dynamic driver for the low frequencies, balanced armature driver for mids, and piezo ceramic driver for the treble. Kind of driver setup that you usually can see only in some expensive and high-end models. But these in-ear monitors are priced really reasonably. Their price is $170. I will add links to the Hi-Fi Go shop to the description. You can select 2 colors, black one or kind of light green or mint one. And you can choose one of 3 cables, so 3.5mm, 2.5mm balanced, and Pentagon, so you can get the cables that will suit your source the most. And probably that's all. Let's have a closer look. As you can see, box is pretty small, but looks really stylish. I'm a fan of small boxes because why spend valuable resources in creating big cardboard boxes? I don't know. Really good polygraphy, really good color schema. I really like it. It looks attractive. Technical specifications and package content on the rare side, so you can understand what you will get inside. And 7 to 40 kilohertz, 7 Hz to 40 kilohertz frequency range. It's not that important. More important is 32 ohms of impedance and 110 decibels of sensitivity. Really good figures with really good, not too sensitive to be noise peaking, not too tough to drive. And you can see 13mm coaxial dynamic driver and 9 layers piezoelectric tweeter. So let's dig inside of the box. As usual, under the outer wrap you will have main cardboard box, earphones themselves, let them put aside for a while, and underneath one can get nice pleather storage case with zipper. Looks pretty attractive, really good for holding the earphones. So 2 set of silicone tips with metal organizer, nice and convenient accessory. So one of them labeled as atmosphere, others labeled as reference. What is the difference? Who knows? Actually, reference is a bit wider in terms of bores, and usually more narrow bores are fitting better for me and giving a better sound, but we'll see. Also, you will have a pair of tips and of course a stock cable and even a nice cleaning tool. So accessory set is really good, and I think for this price it's pretty worth it. In terms of design, they didn't change much. It's still same shape, but it was good, so why change it? I don't know. Pretty nice, ergonomic, small, made of metal, great level of craftsmanship, and you can see that they are purely black, but this shiny red thin line just adding a slight color accent, making them more attractive. So everything is done really accurate, level of metal work is good, fit comfort is also good, at least to my ears, but I think they will fit nicely into vast majority of ears. Spouts have average length, not too long, not too short, but sound isolation is a bit above average. and there is a lip for holding the tips, protective grill, all that part that I pay attention at. So stock cable is good. Actually they mentioned upgraded cable as a separate point during the announcement, and I think it's a good idea. Here used 2-pin connector. I think it's also a good idea with a bit recessed sockets. Pretty tight fitting connectors, nice, holding well, so I suppose they will be reliable and will serve for a long time. So stock cable is good, audiophilic, if it can be called so. There are ear hooks format, but of course no memory wire. I don't know why everyone hates it. For me it was convenient. Cable is pretty thick, but it's soft, not super soft, but on the softer side of things. Microphonic effect is low. There is a chin slider, big splitter, and after the splitter it goes braided down to the jack. Jack is done in the same style as splitter, so cable looks pretty rich, pretty consistent. So in terms of design, build quality, accessory set, packaging, and so on and so forth, it's done on really high level. So everything is done really with a lot of attention to the details. And of course about the sound, you know, for me it's really hard to stay calm or to stay unbiased. Well, actually unbiased not a proper word, because all audio reviews are biased and all reviews are subjective, but in this case BQEYZ or BQEYZ just hit my sweet spot. They hit that tuning that I prefer most of all. You know, it's almost the same situation that was with Teen Hi-Fi T2 Plus. They just change the tuning the way I'd like, and same appears with Spring 2. So I will try to stay cold. I will try to keep my head cold, but it's really hard for me because they just warming my heart and giving me a pleasant smile. So let's have some player to show some examples, of course, because reviews without examples are dull, and to be honest, I simply masking the stories about my favorite music tracks as reviews. But I'm kidding. I gave them about 60 hours of burn-in. Maybe there were slight sound change, but definitely not big. So to pinpoint such change, I need 2 pairs and I don't have them. So my suggestion, don't bother with burning them in, or if you have some free time you can do that, but it's not mandatory. And try different tips, and as I said in advance, I was right, so I'm kind of clairvoyant. So this longer tips with smaller bores give me a better fit and a better sound. So tips with wider bores actually sounding a bit harsh to my ears, but maybe it's because they didn't provide the good seal. And with these tips I get a better seal. So there always is a place for experiments in this aspect. In general tuning, Spring 2 is more or less natural, but it's, you know, that kind of neutrality that has accents, and accents put here the way to create more efficient, more engaging sound. So it's not monitoring type of neutrality, not the dry or focused on the micro detailization kind of sound signature, but it's really enjoyable signature with highlights put here and there to give you the more engagement, and they nail that pretty good. So bass here became a tad bit drier than it was in Spring 1, but in general I'd say that it's not dry, it's just balanced low frequencies. and it's tight, pretty impactful, with a good depth, with slight accent, but not big accent, so it's not bass heavy model to my ears, but when bass is present in the record, they deliver enough of punch, enough of hit and kick and so on. In terms of resolution, it's a pretty good dynamic driver, not the balanced armature speed, but a dynamic driver speed when you trade a bit of resolution in order to get more weight and more impact. And actually, you know, subjectively I prefer dynamic driver bass more. It's pretty universal because it has enough rumble and depth for electronic music. Of course, not bass head representation, but still enough of kicks, and it's pretty decent with acoustic or realistic instruments. Of course, it's a bit highlighting them and making them a bit more embossed, but still sounding pretty natural, with good texturing, with good body, and with enough of weight. And I tried to find some unusual track to serve as an example. So first I want to use something like Prodigy or The Antwoord as an example. Then I thought about Musica Nuda, but then I remembered that Pain of Salvation has a great acoustic album, Falling Home and Flame to the Moth. Nice track from this album. It has really good recorded acoustic bass, nice drums, and all of that gives you that sense of impact and the sense of weight thanks to these in-ear monitors. But of course they really okay with Prodigy, deep bass, with Juno Reactor Tempest and so on. Mids are natural, resolving. These in-ear monitors are pretty coherent, so BQEYZ engineers did their work pretty good in avoiding this driver overlap. So crossover, I don't know, is there a crossover or not, but it's tuned in a proper way, so driver overlap is minimum and earphones sounding pretty coherent. Mids are resolving with good detalization. Maybe sometimes in very rare cases they lacking a bit of weight because just single balanced armature used here, but still it's a really rare case, and instead you will have a really good resolution, really good clarity, lot of small details, but at the same time mids are tuned not to be super nitpicking. Of course, good records are a big plus for them, and they will benefit from good masters and properly recorded tracks, but something more poorly recorded is still okay. Vocals sounding clean, crisp, and instruments are also really detailed. It's they're pretty resolving, so even with big orchestra you can distinguish instruments. For example, with Apocalyptic you definitely can hear that their their cellos are different, so it's not like four similar instruments, it's different instruments with different same instruments but with different sound character. Imaginary stage is above average both in width and in depth, not the most spacious, but good staging with a lot of three-dimensional effects, giving you that sense of presence and so on. And as an example, I've got yet another progressive rock group. It's Opeth Heritage album and track I Feel the Dark. It starts with a great guitar intro, so it's the calm period of Opeth, and it's really good recorded, really saturated with details. Maybe actually not the superb recorded, not some audiophilic jazz, you know, not some classical music recorded by Deutsche Grammophon, but record quality is acceptable. Actually, it's good for rock and metal music, and for the jazz and classical music, it's just kind of okay. So it's all the matter of reference. And these earphones played really nicely with good sense of realism. And treble is a stronger part here to my ears. You know, I can say, probably I can safely say that I'm a fan of piezo drivers. There are a few different types of few different ways of creating, let's name them audiophilic treble, so extended good treble. And classical way is just use balanced armatures to create super tweeters. Also electrostatic drivers that became popular nowadays, and piezo drivers are also pretty good in that. And you know, all of them just playing treble, but they do it in a different way. So balanced armatures are a bit dry and they are a bit more ringy at the upper treble. And electrostatic drivers is kind of less weighted. It's even hard to express it, because of course weight is probably not the most correct word, but they are a bit leaner probably. And the piezo tweeter is kind of balanced, and it's the best option, at least to my ears. Of course, there are different tunings. I'm a bit simplifying and over-averaging here, if there is such a word. But let's go back to the Spring 2. Actually, here BQEYZ added a bit of treble presence. So, if you're treble sensitive, keep that in mind. Spring 1 was a bit more polite on treble, while this one is a bit more present in terms of treble, and actually it's also a good thing to my ears. They are not even close to being harsh or too fatiguing for me, but we all have a different level of treble tolerance, so for someone it could be too much, but actually I don't think that it will be a common case. If I remember right, some people even made some grill mode with Spring 1 in order to get more treble. So I read, I didn't do that to my Spring 1, but I read that actually Spring 2 is between the regular and modded version of Spring 1. So treble has good resolution, really good, maybe not super, but really good, and it give, you know, good treble change everything. For me, treble is kind of one of the first distinguishing features of audiophilic or high-end devices, because good treble means good treble layering, means overtone saturation. It gives you sense of room where it was recorded, so it all changes the stuff. It's adding more realism to the instruments, but of course you require a really good recorded thing for that, because many modern music just have some higher treble devastated by the compression, and that's all. But with good audiophilic records you will have the airiness, you will have the spaciousness, you will have tons of details, and so on. My regular test for the fatiguing and sibilance is Iron Maiden's 7th Son of a 7th Son, and this earphones sounding normally, because when 7th Son of a 7th Son recorded in a pretty sibilant and a sharp way, so this chorus with s, constant s, it should sound sharp, but just a bit sharp, and these earphones do that, and for me it means that treble here is balanced well. But I highlight once again that it's a subjective thing, because treble sensitivity is different for everyone. So let's have some example for the treble, and it's the Chernobyl soundtrack. I won't even try to read the name of the composer. She's really great in creating movie soundtracks, but I'm sorry, probably the best way I can pay respect is not trying to pronounce the name, and it's Vichnaya Pamyat, and it means eternal memories, and this track has this chorus singing that prayer, and chorus recorded pretty nicely, and chorus means a lot of overtones, goes pretty high to the treble area, and a lot of polyphonic voices, and these earphones deliver this track really good. Of course, not like some top of the line models like Andromeda, Solaris or Han, but for this area, for this price tier, pretty good. So I need probably to summarize the sound and highlight pros and cons. So in terms of cons, they're lacking a bit of weight on the mids sometimes, and also they can be sharp because they don't trying to hide the treble. But pros is a natural and engaging sound with tight impactful bass, really clean and clear mids, and good layered treble. So for me it's a really good tuning that I like. And in terms of pairing, I really like it with M11 Pro. It's also a subjective thing, but the best result. Because for example with Kane N6 Mark II, it's a bit too rough and a bit too oversaturating emotions. And let's say Ibasso DX220 a bit too analytical, and it makes mids a bit too dry, and M11 Pro just hitting the sweet spot. But I highlight once again, it's just a subjective thing. And speaking about the comparisons, there are tons of models in this price range, and I didn't heard a lot of them. There are a lot of popular models like Mondrop makes a lot of models that are popular nowadays, for example, but I heard only one KXXS, and KXXS is a bit more splashy, bit less natural on treble, and bit more weighty on mids. My other reference in-ear monitors, Hi-Fi Boy OS V3. I wonder, will Hi-Fi Boy update them or not, or they won't change what is already perfect. So Hi-Fi Boy is a bit more fun, bit more V-shaped, with a bit more weight on mids, but bigger accent on lows and treble. Lot of other models in price range. Also, I can probably mention LZ-A6, not mini version, because I didn't hear them. And regular version, it also has dynamic drivers, balanced armatures, and piezo tweeter, but LZ is more focused on detalization, they are sounding drier. So if you need some other comparisons, just feel free to ask, but you know, other models like, I don't know, AudioSense AQ3, for example, they sounding more natural, more focused on the micro contrast, more focused on the micro detalization, while this model is natural and resolving, but they're trying to be more fun and more engaging. So just feel free to ask, I will try to do a brief comparison, but so yeah, I know what models I need to mention. Of course, IMR, as I'm a fan of ceramic drivers, so IMR also makes models with sometimes similar, sometimes different tuning. So IMR R2 Red is a bit more mid forward, with a bit more impact on the mids, and so on. And I don't know, IMR R2, actually not R2, IMR Ra is step forward because it has planar mids, so they are a bit more natural. And R2 Eten, they are a bit more V-shaped with more low frequencies impact and a bit more treble impacts and so on. So if you need more comparisons, just feel free to ask, but currently I can say that just earphones that have high probability to go into 2020 recap. I really like their tuning, I really like them. Well, sorry maybe for being not 100% natural, but actually it's a hobby and I'm just trying to tell only about things that I like, but some of them I like more than others. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.